All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to take us to key concept 5.3. The Industrial Revolution begins. So, the Industrial Revolution begins in northern Great Britain, that area between like northern England and southern Scotland, in starting about the 1780s. So, the first thing that the key concepts want to get into is why did it start there? And they end up giving about a total of 9 main reasons why the Industrial Revolution begins where it begins. So, a lot of those are going to be like geographic factors. So, number one, Europe kind of like sticks out into the Atlantic Ocean, making it a pretty obvious place to develop maritime societies. But also, there's a lot of really good access to coal, iron, and timber inside northern Great Britain. So, like as you can see from this map right here, Britain had lots of really good access to coal resources. You know, northern Great Britain is really far in the northern hemisphere. And the farther north that you go, sometimes the harder it is to have trees grow. And so, pretty quickly, the British went through all of their available timber to burn for energy, and they had to start looking for a new fuel source, and that is coal. Looking for coal, however, led them to digging coal mines. And in the process of digging coal mines, they had a problem that they would constantly have these coal mines fill up with water. So they needed to come up with some sort of a method to pump that water out of the coal mines. And that's what eventually James Watt would perfect with the steam engine improvements that he makes, that really is the hallmark of that industrial revolution, those steam engines. Next, the Europeans had gone through some pretty massive demographic changes. The population had skyrocketed from 100 million to 400 million people by 1900. Next, they had become a highly urbanized society. A lot of people moved to cities. There was improved agricultural productivity, partially because of American food products like, potatoes or maize. But in addition to that, there was crop rotation, there was the seed drill, there were improved plows. In England, there was the enclosure movement where farmers could fence off their areas, making it so their farms weren't subject to common grazing or that kind of stuff. Selective breeding of animals made it so they produce bigger animals. Uh, Legal protection of private property was one of the main reasons why the Industrial Revolution started there. An abundance of rivers and canals, making it easy to ship around coal or heavy iron resources. And of course, thanks to the maritime empires, the British in particular and the Europeans in general had massive access to foreign resources. The Europeans had come to control like 40% of Earth's total population, and they used that population to make themselves fantastically wealthy. So they had accumulation of capital, which meant they had money to invest. And they had a stock market to invest in, which made the system easy. So all of these reasons make it pretty clear: proximity to waterways, access to rivers and canals, geographical distribution of coal, iron, and timber, urbanization, improved agricultural productivity, legal protection of private property, access to foreign resources, and an accumulation of capital. So, Europe has and Britain has numerous ports and harbors that gave access to outside markets, both for import and for export. Britain had a lot of coal and iron in the Midlands that made it easy to make machines that would burn that coal. Factories need large amounts of capital to build, and the Europeans had it. The new bourgeoisie class, the middle class, invested their money so as to make a profit. And then they would make a profit off of that new money, and then they would invest the new money, and then they would make even more profit. And then they would take that profit and they would invest it yet again, making even more profit. And then the next thing you know, the British would come to control 1/4 of the land surface of planet Earth. Factories were concentrated in one small area, which increased urbanization. New methods of crop rotation and larger enclosed farms led to higher production with fewer farmers. And of course, better nutrition meant that there was a population boom for even more labor. In the previous eras, economic practices had been established. There was a larger middle class, and banking systems would help make the availability of loans better for investments in industry. In Western Europe, government supported the interests of the business class by protecting their legal private property and by making laws that would make it safe to further invest. They had political stability, especially compared with those areas that they conquered, which facilitated immigration and emigration. Great Britain, the British Isles in total had something like 19 million people emigrate out in the 19th century. That's in compared with the maybe 12.5 million people that were taken across the Atlantic in the transatlantic slave trade. So, pretty major movements of people. Ladies and gentlemen, the development of the factory system concentrated production in a single location and led to an increasing degree of specialization of labor. That's key concept 5.3.